and that's going to be covered under your primary and secondary flight controls. So understanding that our secondary flight controls, that is going to be including your, we go right here, they have primary, and then we will get to your secondary, which is going to be your trim, and it will also be your flaps. Yep, your trim and your flaps. So understanding what type of flaps you have. Do you have single slot type flaps? Are they electrically driven? Are they manually driven? Does your trim, is it electrically driven as well? Or is it a trim wheel? Or is it a trim wheel? Things like that. Things that are particular to your aircraft is kind of like the bread and butter about that. All right, so again, that's primary, secondary, power plant, and propeller. Your propeller is going to be slightly different depending on what model of aircraft that you have. The power plant, you could have 180 horsepower instead of a 140. It all depends on what your aircraft is. Avionics, you could have a six pack, or you could have a full G1000 full glass cockpit, or you could have kind of a mix of both. You could have an Aspen, a Garmin, whatever your aircraft has. So that's going to be particular to your aircraft. Then the thing that's going to be pretty the same is going to be your pedostatic system as well as your vacuum system. This should work about the same for every aircraft. That's why we have to cover pedostatic, because your airspeed, your VSI, and your altimeter is all part of that pedostatic systems. They should have gyroscopic instruments, but they don't seem to have that listed here, which is interesting. But anyways, both of these cases, you should know your gyroscopic instruments too. That's your turn coordinator. That's also going to be your attitude indicator, and it's your attitude heading and references, ARs. Is your gyroscopic, and your pedostatic system is going to be your ADC, your air data computer. So if we go to pedo and just type that in here, we'll see that's under 8-1. And that's where you're going to utilize here as well to help you guys understand this. So we have over here, it's going to be covering the AD and AHARs, your gyroscopic instruments, and your pedostatic instruments. All really important to go to and learn from there. All right. Outside of that, also we have icing. So if your aircraft for some reason can go in icing conditions, most training aircraft are explicitly stated to not go into known icing conditions. So don't expect that to be an issue. They're really just going to be expecting you to say, we can't fly in ice conditions. And if we get into icing, we are going to immediately get out of it. If you do have any